Hello friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today I am starting another reading vlog. It's not just going to be a weekend vlog like I normally do, but I am going to be doing Go with the Flow. I obviously have not done any of the months of Go with the Flow, and now we're in May, the 5th month. So I'm going to start with January and read a January book, go to February. We're going to see how far I can get in this vlog. I'm hoping to catch up before too long. It's early in the month of May. I'm hoping I can fly through a couple of these. We'll see. Go with the Flow is a year-long readathon that was created by my friends, my besties, Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Jen from Bookish Blonde. And I love those ladies and want to support what they're creating and what they're doing. And I love what they came up with. So I want to participate, but I haven't yet. So hopefully I can catch up and then add one more book to my TBR each month, or fit a book onto my TBR that will match the next month's prompt. But the idea of this year-long readathon is that each month's prompt builds off of the book that you read from the previous month. So for January, the prompt is gifted. So this is any book that was gifted to you. So for gifted, I wanted to make sure that I had a book that would match February's prompt, which is initials, has to have the same initials. So I just had to double check on Goodreads that I have authors with these initials, and I have multiple choices, which is perfect. So for January's prompt of gifted, I'm going to go ahead and read the book that Sarah gifted to me in our Christmas book exchange this past year, The Fix Up by Sharon M. Peterson. I'm super excited to read another Sharon Peterson. She writes clean or sweet romances, but so good. I absolutely loved the first one that I read by her. So I'm looking forward to this one. So we follow Ellie, who's a single mom. She's just inherited a home and a thriving cafe, but only half belongs to Ellie. The other half goes to the previous owner's grandson, Gilbert, who may be handsome, but his frown never wavers and he has a chip on his shoulder the size of a small country. So it looks like we have a little bit of a grumpy sunshine. These two people have to fix up this house together, cafe together, work together. And of course, they're going to fall in love, right? This seems like the perfect kind of a read for this time of year. I'm very in the mood for this type of a read. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. I will share my thoughts with you, and then we will go ahead and pick a book for February and then March and April and so on until I am caught up with Go with the Flow. I'll be back. Hello. It is the next day, and I have already finished The Fix Up by Sharon M. Peterson. I knew it would be a quick read, very fast-paced. It was such a sweet romance. I really enjoyed it. So we follow single mom Ellie. She's actually the sister of one of the characters in The Fake Out, and I think this is technically book 3 in the series, but they are just companion novels, so it's totally fine to read them in whatever order. Ellie moved to town a couple of years ago, lived with this older guy and worked at his cafe, and he kind of, not in a weird way, he kind of was like a surrogate grandparent to her and her son. But then he died and he left her his house and cafe, but he also left the other half to his grandson. And there was a strained relationship. There wasn't really a relationship there between his grandson and him. And we learn why as the story goes. But Gilbert is the grandson, and he comes to see what's going on with the house and stuff, and he's kind of ready to sell, but there's a stipulation in the will where they both have to live in the house for 6 months before they're able to do anything with the property. And the fix up is that the house needs fixing up, but also Ollie, the older dude, is kind of setting up his grandson with Ellie, whom he thought of like a granddaughter. So it just was really cute. Ellie is a single mom who has ADHD and always picks the wrong guy. She says her man picker is off. So she doesn't have a lot of trust in herself and thinks that everybody can't stand to be around her, because that has been kind of her perception of things up until this point in life. So she doesn't give herself a lot of credit. And Gilbert kind of swoops in. It was very swoony. It was very sweet. I liked this a lot. And I also really enjoy that Ellie was not a tiny petite character. Sharon M. Peterson also always writes girls that are a little bit on the bigger side, maybe plus size. This character was not plus size, but she was curvy and tall and wonderful. I really liked Ellie, and I always like it when I like the main characters. So that is the January book for Go with the Flow. Now I need to pick another book that has an author with the same initials as Sharon M. Peterson. And I kind of cheated and did look ahead before I picked this. So I knew already that I was going to pick this book, which is on my May TBR, The Amalfi Curse, because Sarah Penner is SP, just like Sharon Peterson. So I actually have already started listening to this. I had a 30-minute drive home from church today because I was at a different location. And so I was able to get a head start on this one. I know that this is going to deal with an underwater archaeologist who is starting this project dealing with some shipwrecks. Her dad was a diver and died while looking for some buried treasure in one of the shipwrecks on the Amalfi Coast. There's also, it started out in the prologue, or I don't know if it was called a prologue. It started out with this group of women who were witches, and they have some kind of sea magic because there was talk in this town. It was like the 1820s or something. There was talk of pirates who nobody knew exactly where the pirates were headed, but the women in Positano decided, well, they're not coming here. And so they went out to sea, like walked into the water and created this back current so that the ships wouldn't be able to get into the land there. So that was kind of how the whole thing started. And then we met the dad just before he passed away. And then now we're learning about our main character. What's her name? Haven. I think the cover of this is stunning and I'm really looking forward to it. So we'll see what I think whenever I finish it. All right, I came out to sit in the other room for a minute because I was going to film this clip in the library, but they're doing road work out on my road today, and this is a little bit farther back in my house. Hopefully you can't hear it. It's not too bad right now, but I did finish The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. I enjoyed this one. We have a good mix of historical and drama in the present day timeline and this little bit of mystery. I did feel like it didn't have the intensity that I was hoping for. It kind of figured out things before reveals happened, and it was a little bit witchy or magical realism, if you will. And there was a bit of a romance that I didn't feel like I thought was necessary, or I didn't believe the romance particularly. It was based mostly on how they thought the other person looked. I don't know. I just felt like it fell a little bit flat, even though I was interested all the way through and I read through the whole thing pretty quickly, just a couple of days. It didn't quite grab a hold of me, if you will. So I'm giving it 3 stars. It's gorgeous, but unfortunately it wasn't a huge hit for me. So now we get to move on to the March prompt, which is to read a book that has the same colors as your previous book. So I love, this is like blues and teals, a little bit of gold and yellow, and then we have this brown boat. I think I have the perfect fit. I don't know if I could do this with one hand. I'm going to go ahead and pick up The Melancholy Life of Annie Astor by Scott Wilbanks, another one that is on my May TBR. Perfect. But I think it's a perfect like opposite to this. The colors match really, really well. Okay. I've kind of like finagled a way to set my phone down so that I can show you these books side by side. I feel like they fit each other really well. The colors match perfectly. The brown of this letterbox matches the brown of the boat in the Amalfi Curse. I think it is a perfect match. Like this one's mostly yellow and this one's mostly blue, so it's a little bit of an opposite, but I'm going with it. So The Melancholy Life of Annie Astor is a bit of a chunker, but the audiobook is only 11 hours. I should be able to get that done this weekend. Today is a Friday. And I'm about to head out to run a few errands. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this on audio. I do have the audio already saved on Libby because it's one of my TBR books for the month. So I'm excited. There's letters in here. It's going to have this magical realism touch to it as well because these 2 women, Annie and Elsbeth, are sending letters across time through this letterbox. So it's 1890s Kansas and a present day storyline. I'm looking forward to it. I know I did try a chapter of this a long time ago and it captured my attention enough to keep it on my shelves and not get unhauled. We shall see. I will let you know in a little bit. All right. I have just finished The Melancholy Life of Annie Astor by Scott Wilbanks. This was twisty turny, way more than what I was expecting. There was a lot of characters to follow and a lot of time travel It was charming in a way, but also confusing in a way. There was a bit of a mystery in there. There was some good versus evil, some bad guys to be chased down. But once it got towards the last quarter of the book, so I was like 3/4 of the way through, I was so confused because we just kept hopping through this portal and showing up in different time periods, and how the mystery kind of concluded was a little confusing for me. Ultimately, I don't love this book. It was an interesting read. I think I'm just going to give it 3 stars. It's not going to stay on my shelves. I'm glad I read it though, because I feel like I've had it for a really long time and it was interesting. If you like time travel, you might enjoy this with a mystery in there. But let me know if you've read it, if you were also as confused as I was. I have not gone to look at what the next prompt is supposed to be, so we're going to do it together, and I will see if I can think of something off the top of my head. Let's see, because I kind of looked at some of the previous ones. So next up we have chapters. Oh no. Did I pick a book that doesn't have chapters? Oh, it does have chapters. I listened to it on audio. Okay, so the last chapter of here is chapter 46. Okay, that's not too bad. So this one has 46 chapters. Okay, so 46 chapters. This is going to take a minute. I'm going to start with my rotating cart because this is where I put all the books I'm interested in reading, both TBR books, reread books that I want to reread this year, and self-destruct books. And then as I find books that are just kind of on my radar, I add them to the rotating cart. So I'm going to see if one of those has 46 chapters. 43. This is so close. That just took me a really long time. I looked through a ton of books and I did not find any that had 46 chapters. I did not go through all of those, but I went through my whole recommendations cart. I went through a bunch of my Christmas book exchange. I went through some of my Christian fiction. I went through some of my rotating cabinet. I found 2 that are 3 chapters away. One had 49 and one had 43, but then I got closer. These are definitely high on my priority list, but I found closer. So on my recommendations card, I found The Indigo Girl by Natasha Boyd. This is 2 chapters away with 44 chapters, but I found even closer. So I have 2 books that have 1 chapter away from 46 chapters. One has 45 and one has 47. Castle of Water by Dane Huckelbridge and Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. I know this is the sequel to Skyward, so that would be awesome to work on a sequel. Castle of Water is 2 very different people, one very small island. More than just a reimagining of the classic Castaway story, it's a stirring reflection of love's restorative potential, as well as a poignant reminder that home, be it a flat in Paris, a New York apartment, or a desolate atoll a world away, home is where the heart is. All from the library of Lindsay's little library. That's fun. She gave me this for Christmas a couple years ago. So what I'm going to do, because they're both equally distant from 46, I'm going to ask my patrons. So by the end of the day, I will have an answer. You'll see what they pick because I'm going to get right back on and read it. But I'm going to give them a couple hours. I have other things to work on for a little bit. So I'm going to give them a poll because who doesn't love a good poll? That took me a long time. But yeah, I will let you know what they chose as I read it in a few minutes. Well, like seconds, I guess, for you. Hello, friends. It has been probably a week or so, week and a half since I last chatted with you. I gave my patrons the option of which one to pick, and they chose for me Starsight. So I started reading Starsight. I got 118 pages in, and I decided I'm DNFing this book and this series, which is kind of heartbreaking to me. I have read Brandon Sanderson, some of his other books, and really enjoy him. I do not like this book, and I just don't care to read the rest of the series. I really enjoyed the first one, Skyward, but in this second book, the sequel, we continue to follow Spensa. It starts off with a lot of space fighting and pilot training and Spensa's thoughts as she's fighting these alien ships, and I really just couldn't care less. I really wasn't interested at all. Then she decides very quickly to travel to this other place, and part 2 starts with her there. She's going undercover. She's kind of going to be a spy trying to steal this technology. I didn't care. I thought Spencer was annoying. I thought things were a little too convenient, and I was not at all invested, and I just don't want to finish the series. So sadly, I didn't finish this one. So I decided to go ahead and pick up the other one that was the other option that my patrons did not pick, Castle of Water by Dane Huckelbridge. And I read this in less than 24 hours. Very, very interesting. In this one, we follow 2 people who leave on a flight from Tahiti or to Tahiti. The plane goes down and there are only these 2 survivors. And so we follow them as they try to survive on this island. One of them was a newlywed and her husband died in the plane crash. And the other is a businessman from America, and she's French. Sophie is French. And our other guy, Barry, is a businessman / wannabe artist from America. At first, they do not get along at all, at all. Very much a different way of thinking, different cultures, different way of communicating, and it's really, really difficult, but they're kind of forced to work together because they're the only survivors of this plane crash on this island that's very small, but they have to survive and live there. And they kind of have a shortwave radio. They had saved a few things from the wreckage. So they have a few things to get them started, but they need to build shelter and look for water and find food, and all of that is included in here. So it's a bit of a survival story. If you like the show Survivor at all, this had very much vibes because they're in French Polynesia, I think is where they were. Eventually they learn how to get along, and there's a bit of a romance in here as well. I don't know that I loved that, but it kind of made sense. The story made sense. I was very invested from the beginning to the end. It kept my attention, and it was very interesting, kind of the nods to the more present day or like the future of what's going to happen a year later or so. But they're on this island for years. Is that spoilery? They're stranded on this island, but it was kind of cool seeing where the title comes in, Castle of Water. It was interesting watching their relationship and the way that they work together change over time. It was really interesting to figure out how they're going to survive. I did find the ending a little bit rushed. Ultimately, I really enjoyed this. I'm giving it 4 stars. Super good. And that's going to bring us to the end of this vlog. I have completed my first 4 prompts for Go With The Flow. I'm still a little behind because here we are now at the beginning of June, and I've only completed January through April, but I will do another one of these maybe in a month or 2 and kind of catch up the next few months. So I hope that you enjoyed my chats on all 4 of these books. So we had, just as a recap, January's prompt was Gifted, and this was gifted to me by Sarah, who's one of the hosts of Go With The Flow. The Fix Up by Sharon M. Peterson. Really enjoyed this romantic comedy. Such fun. And then we had to, from here, go to an author with the same initials. So Sharon Peterson, Sarah Penner. I read The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. Historical, a little bit mystery, deep diving, drama, a little bit of witchiness in there, The Amalfi Curse. And then from there, for March's prompt, I had to go to book with similar colors on the cover. So I went with The Melancholy Life of Annie Astor. Didn't love this one, but it was super interesting. Kind of sci-fi almost, portal, other timeline, letters back and forth with a mystery mixed in. I enjoyed that enough. And then from there, a book with the same amount of chapters, and I got really close with The Castle of Water plus the DNF of Starsight. So we're ending here with April's book, Castle of Water, which I just talked about. And then starting in the next one, May, I'm going to have to do a page count. So I'm going to have to find a book. I'm going to just write the page count down so I know. It's 276. So that's kind of nice. It's relatively short. We're going to end it there. I would love to know your thoughts on any of these books. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Did you think the same as I do? And are you doing Go With The Flow? If you are, let me know down below. I love chatting with you down in the comments. And if you've made it to the end, but you're not feeling chatty, totally fine. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you for being here. But if you would leave a little emoji in the comment that's either blue or teal, blue or yellow, because clearly these all go together really well. Blue or yellow emoji in the comment. And I look forward to chatting with you in another video very soon. Bye.